was a cold, overcast day, much like you would see if you were playing golf in Scotland. Tom Watson was there, President Bush, the other golf leaders, the mayor of New York City, and it was a great start. We were looking to focus on what we considered to be the biggest challenge going forward for golf, which was bringing the game to people who historically hadn't had access to it. And that was the catalyst for what became the First Tee program. We needed the great, heroic, iconic figure to be the face of the First Tee. I knew President Bush. He had served as chairman of the President's Cup, and I went to Houston to see him and asked him whether he would be the honorary chair. And he talked about it for about 30 seconds and agreed to it. He loved the idea.
I am very enthusiastic about First Tee. I believe it will expand interest in the game, but more important for me than that is lifting up the life of one kid, and we'll be lifting up the lives of a lot of kids by this program.
From that day forward, I always put tremendous energy into it.
Our objective is by 2000 to have 100 facilities somewhere in production and development, and to by 2000 announce our long-term objectives for the game of golf through the First Tee.
We had to demonstrate that this program had legs, it could scale, it could have an impact in the game of golf if we were going to expect the kind of support nationally that we knew we needed to get to kind of where we are today.
Tim Fincham's personal passion for this, the Oversight Committee's passion, the LPGA, the USGA, the PGA of America, the PGA Tour, and Augusta National. And they were all terrific. We weren't sure how it was going to work out. We weren't sure what the relationship a national office would have with a local effort. We weren't sure how much government would participate. We weren't sure what the reception would be.
We were all gathered around in Todd's office on Friday afternoons, and he'd have this big old chalkboard up, and he'd have the names of all the cities that had contacted us. And there was no rhyme or reason to how we were developing chapters at that time. I could be one day in Texas, the next day in Washington State, the next day in New York City. So we were taking them pretty much as they came in.
The goal to open 100 facilities was a monumental goal.
As we got into it, leading us were the locals. The people in the local communities were already onto the idea.
Without a doubt, with every person we met, they were all doing this for the right reasons. They all wanted to positively impact the young people in their communities.
Ever present was this idea that inherent in the game of golf were these incredible values that could dramatically impact the lives of young people, specifically kids who otherwise wouldn't have access to the game. It was less about what we did than tapping into this amazing energy that existed in the communities.
When we reached 100 facilities in some form of development or open, it was a celebration, but we certainly didn't stop there.
We knew all of them wouldn't be perfect, but if there was enough success, there would be enough momentum and motivation to push us to the next 100 and thereafter. And today, the First Tee's everywhere.
Joe coming aboard worked with transforming the First Tee to something beyond just a program that brings golf to kids who hadn't historically had access to it. He turned it into a program that changes kids' lives.
I was very intrigued with the opportunity to take an organization that had a phenomenal idea and was still at a conceptual stage to where I think it could be a business that could have a really meaningful impact on the young people that we wanted to reach.
Joe came in and said, if we're going to stay in this for the long term, the real thing that the First Tee needs to do is to convince people to invest in the young people. So the facilities became a means to an end and not the end itself.
Interesting enough, when I first arrived, we talked about the core values. And I said, well, what are the core values? Well, they'd say, well, maybe honesty, and maybe responsibility, maybe respect. But we really hadn't determined what they were. So I said, let's take 4 months and come up with ideas of the 9 core values.
What are the things that are missing in society and things that we could really lay our hat on and say, America's had a lot of change because of the First Tee. What's the everlasting impact we're going to have on the lives of these young people? And that's where the Life Skills program really took off.
Now young people were coming and learning how to set goals, how to overcome obstacles, how to trust their judgment, how to be more confident
We heard from parents that said, I don't know what you did with Johnny or Jane, but the realities are they're different. So what's happening there in this golf context? So the whole package seemed to come together, and it's just been a wonderful evolution. At the end of phase 2, we'd reached some 650,000 young people. We had 268 facilities open or well under development, and we had reached some 650 affiliate relationships. It really sent a signal that we were a business and that we were very determined to be successful. When you look at the impact we're having with our young people, and you see that they're moving in a different direction because of their involvement in the first tee, as we move from phase 2 to phase 3, we asked ourselves, do we have a duty, responsibility, or obligation to reach as many young people as we conceivably can with what we have to offer? And the answer was yes, yes, yes.
We knew that if we were going to reach more young people, we had to go to where the young people were. And logically, for us, that meant schools. So we decided we would put our foot into the water with respect to the school setting and to go into the PE classes at the elementary schools.
We are now in more than 5,000 schools with a goal to be in more than 10,000 schools by 2017. We are at a place that we couldn't have imagined a few years ago. And we are reaching millions of young people in school, in the physical education setting, with trained PE teachers using a curriculum that's written in their standards in a safe environment.
School administrators have really taken to the core values and the character education lessons that we teach, so much so that they're now using those character education principles as part of their school-wide teachings in that area. So we're starting to see a really, really, really big impact in the school area, and that's only going to grow because there are a lot of elementary schools out there for us to put our foot in.
The First Tee is really a youth development organization. We've really evolved to be a youth development organization. And that, I think, has distinguished the First Tee and has allowed us the position that we share throughout the communities that we're in and on a national basis. Our chapters have done a phenomenal job of embracing our mission and then taking that mission to their communities and gaining support within their communities to impact the lives of young people.
Nobody knew whether it could really work. Nobody knew what the size of the program could be or how many people we could reach. And to now look back and see what's happened, surely it's gratifying. On the other hand, there's a lot more kids that haven't been reached. So you start again to scratch your head and say, where can we really go and what can happen?
When you see the young people and see the visible impact that the program has, it's a really, really powerful and moving story.
We're now an international organization. We have an imprint in America and other parts of the world. And we know we now have kids who are graduating from college and moving on to professional careers and consistently say, without the First Tee, they may be in a different place. And so our charge and our mission for the next 15 years and further is to continue to impact the lives of young people.
We recently launched Phase 4, and that was a very bold initiative to reach 10 million additional young people between 2011 and 2017. 10 million young people. I think some of the chapters probably said, is he crazy? Has he lost his mind? But over the last year and a half, as I've traveled to the chapters, what is exciting to me is how the boards and my chapter colleagues who are driving the business each and every day have embraced that.
We are built on the foundation of our chapters. And when I think about the hundreds of people I've met in the last decade who are giving their time and their love to the First Tee, I think of people who are generous of spirit, generous of heart, who are so dedicated to the young people in their communities. And they just want to give back, and they do that through the First Tee.
It is those folks in communities all around the country, sometimes outside the country, who commit their time and energy to reach out to the kids, mentor these kids, get up every day worrying about making it happen. Those are the people that make the program work. And the First Tee would not be what it is today without them.
Now we're not talking about 100, we're talking about thousands. And we're not talking about 1 million kids, we're talking about 10 million kids. Where will it be in 10 years? Will it be in 20 years? And it's really going to be up to the people in this audience to determine that. And how cool is that?
I'm very bullish and very excited about the future of the First Tee, because I do think that when it's all said and done, we will be an important part of how many young people are being so successful down the road.